Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you as always for taking time out to watch the video. Today we're talking about some major acquisition news that dropped. We're talking about PlayStation hiring for a director of acquisitions and investments, and we're also talking about some games that are reportedly going to be current gen only, and they're actually not going to be releasing on the last gen consoles, signaling that more developers are moving away from cross-gen development. So before we dive into these topics, do me a favor, hit the like button to help the video out and show your support, and if you are new here to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Starting with the major acquisition news, it has to do with Square Enix. This seemingly came out of nowhere. This is reading from Push Square, where they say Embracer Group, the enormous company that's always scooping up studios and franchises, is set to close its latest big deal, and it's a doozy. The conglomerate is about to acquire several developers and IPs from Square Enix. The acquisition will include studios Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal. IPs such as Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Legacy of Kain, Thief, and more than 50 back catalog games are also part of the agreement. The total value of the deal is surprisingly only $300 million. A press release on Embracer's website states the deal is expected to close somewhere between July and September of 2022. The purchase of the above-mentioned studio comprises of about 1,100 employees. The statement continues, with the acquisition of several big IPs, it's implied that some will be greenlit for new games. The continued sales and operations of the studio's more than 50 back catalog games is an interesting point, although what these games are is not made clear. A press release from Square Enix also goes over the deal from its perspective. This seems to be part of a plan to make the publisher more efficient and optimize its output and growth. Going forward, the company's development function will comprise of its studios in Japan, Square Enix External Studios, and Square Enix Collective, the statement reads. The company's overseas studios will continue to publish franchises such as Just Cause, Outriders, and Life is Strange. The publisher also says that the funds from the deal will go towards investments in fields including blockchain, AI, and the cloud. So this was some very surprising acquisition news that dropped out of nowhere, and it once again proves that no one can really predict what's going to happen next when it comes to who's going to be acquired and who's going to be purchased. But the thing that people are really focused on with this is how much Embracer Group paid for all of this. For all of these studios, for all of this IP, they only paid $300 million. To most, that seems staggeringly low. In fact, that is such a low amount of money that it has people wondering if there's actually more to this potentially. And the thing that people are beginning to kind of focus on or speculate is that Square Enix is essentially shedding the dead weight. They are trying to drop the dead weight, or what they consider to be the dead weight, in preparation to be acquired by another entity. Now, I don't know that that's what this indicates. We know that Square Enix has not been satisfied with their Western division for a long time, and a lot of people are actually very hopeful that now that these studios and this IP are going to another publisher, that being Embracer Group, that there's a chance they'll be able to actually do more with it and do it better than the way Square Enix has. A lot of people say that Square Enix has just done a very terrible job managing their Western division, and it's just been all over the place. And so, in a way, people are excited to see what Embracer Group can now do with these studios and with this IP. But it does make you wonder what is next for Square Enix. They are now going to be a Japanese-only company once again, where they just focus on Japanese games. We know that they are very close to Sony, and so it remains to be seen if this has any greater implications. I don't necessarily think it does, but again, people are very much focused on how bizarre it is that Embracer Group was able to get all of this for such a low amount of money, especially when you compare it to other acquisitions that have been happening around the industry. You have to imagine that this deal would have been worth, at the very least, a couple of billion, maybe at least $1 billion, but it didn't even, get up to $500 million. So I have to say, just for me, reading this and coming across this, I was very surprised, not at the fact that Square Enix sold their Western division, but the fact that they sold it for such a low price point. That is crazy. And I mean, of all the companies to get it, it turns out to be Embracer Group. And at this point in time, it's just a matter of kind of sitting back and seeing what may happen next, what Square Enix is going to do next, and who is going to get bought up next, or what is going to be sold next. But yeah, I wanted to be sure to cover this for you guys and let you know. At this point, I guess I'll just ask you guys, do you think that this adds to the possibility that Sony may be getting ready to acquire Square Enix? I personally don't think it does, but I know that some people might think this is indicating that. And if you do think that, let me know why. I'll be interested to see what you have to say. Moving to the next topic, we are continuing to talk about acquisitions. Reading from VGC, it says Sony is seeking a director to help it make acquisitions and investments in other companies in the games industry. As spotted by business analyst Roberto Serrano, the director of corporate development listing based in Sony's California office, says the successful applicant will be mainly involved in identifying potential future acquisitions and investment targets. Sony Interactive Entertainment PlayStation seeks a highly qualified director, corporate development. SIE's corporate development team works closely with SIE's management team and is responsible for identifying inorganic growth opportunities through acquisitions, investments, and joint ventures, the ad reads. The team sources, evaluates, and completes transactions that are aligned with SIE's strategic priorities and drive significant long-term value for the company. The foundational work of the team involves developing market insights through strong internal and external relationships to identify attractive mergers and acquisition and investment opportunities. Among the various skills sought by Sony, the successful candidate will need to have a proven track record of leading all parts of an end-to-end M&A process for both large and small transactions, including acquisitions, joint ventures, and investments. The role appears to be similar to an Xbox listing that was posted last week, which seeks a manager in the company's gaming strategy and development department. The gaming strategy and development team serves as the corporate strategy function for Team Xbox, the listing reads. And finally, the article concludes by saying, discussing industry consolidation earlier this month, influential figure Jeff Keighley suggested more major deals could be announced sooner rather than later. The Game Awards creator tweeted, "Have heard from multiple people. As you might suspect, there are a few other big video game deals in final stages of negotiations. It's going to be an interesting year." And so I wanted to let you guys know that this is what Sony's doing, because there's evidence here at this point that Sony is getting much more serious about acquisitions and mergers. It's not that they haven't been serious, but they are looking to ramp up in what seems to be a significant way here. And I think the most important thing to highlight here is that Sony is going to continue to be very strategic about their acquisitions. Sony has a goal, a long-term goal, and they're not just going to acquire anybody. They're not just going to acquire teams for the sake of acquiring them. They're going to have very good reason for doing so, and they're going to make sure that whoever they go after and whoever they negotiate with, it's going to be a studio or a development team or potentially even a publisher that can, serve that long-term goal that PlayStation has. So if there was any doubt that Sony is going to be stopping acquisitions anytime soon and they're going to just kind of take a break, that's the opposite of what's going on right now behind the scenes. They are very much looking to do more. So we'll just have to, again, remain patient and see what moves they end up making. The final topic I have for you, though, talks about developers seemingly getting away from cross-gen game development. At least that's what seems to be the case here. So we're talking about Gotham Knights because apparently the game rating leaves out the PS4 and Xbox One versions. Reading from PlayStation Lifestyle, it says Gotham Knights is due to be released later this year, and the obligatory game ratings are starting to be negotiated. One of the first of these to crop up is from Taiwan, but here the game has only been rated for the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles, prompting rumors that the last-gen versions of Gotham Knights on PS4 and Xbox One have been canceled. Gotham Knights was announced for PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC. However, the latest rating from Taiwan Entertainment Software Rating Information, as spotted by DualShockers, only included the current-gen versions on its listing. This could mean that the last-gen versions have been either delayed or are just not going to come out. Seeing as the PC version was also omitted from the list, though, it's more likely the rating lists are incomplete or the game isn't going to be released on those platforms in Taiwan. So I thought it was important to make sure we acknowledge that as well, because it's true that the PC version was also not on this listing. So we can't say definitively that it's not going to come out for the PS4 and Xbox One. Considering it was announced for these consoles, I want to say that it's likely it's still going to, but it does kind of make me hold out hope that maybe it won't, because I think that the time has come to kind of just move on from the last generation consoles. I know that some people don't want to hear that because, you know, not everybody can get their hands on the current gen consoles, but still, it's going to happen at some point. And I've actually even seen people who don't have a PS5 or an Xbox Series console advocate for wanting to see more games just kind of go current gen only and not be held back by the older consoles. But continuing with this, we're talking about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2 and how apparently this is a game that will not be cross-gen. And so it says here, reading from Gaming Bolt, in a recent episode of his Giant Bomb show, Grub Snacks, journalist Jeff Grubb claimed that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2 will not be a cross-gen title and will be releasing only for the current-gen consoles and PC. That very much seems to be a pattern of upcoming EA games, many of which have been reported to be current-gen exclusive. That includes the likes of the next Dragon Age, the next Need for Speed, and also the upcoming Dead Space remake is just going to be for current-gen consoles. And so this game is probably going to be revealed very soon. In fact, it seems likely it's going to be revealed in 2 days. And I'm very excited for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2, or whatever it's going to be called. And I'm actually really glad that it's not going to be held back by the last gen consoles. It will be nice to see what this team can do while only focusing on the PS5 and the Xbox Series, and you know, see how far they can kind of push things. So all in all, this is giving me hope that going, you know, further into this year, when we get more game announcements and new game reveals, here's hoping that less and less of them will be cross-gen and more of them will be kind of pushing, you know, what can be achieved on these current-gen consoles. So that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. Make sure you leave it a like if you did. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.